We, the 73 undersigned civil society organization, are appalled by the news of another death at the MACC, Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission Office, that reportedly occurred yesterday around 10:15 a.m. The victim, believed to be Ahmad Sarbani Mohamed, 56 years old, and Assistant Director of the Selangor Customs Department, had been released on bail 3 days ago, but was found dead on the first floor of MACC building at Jalan Cochrane. To best of our knowledge, this is the second time a fellow citizen has died while under the custody of MACC. The fact that this comes not long after the death of Teo Beng Hock in July 2009 is a real cause for concern for the peoples of this nation. This incident has again raised questions on the integrity and accountability of the MACC. Public confidence in the credibility and professionalism of the MACC has been shattered. We are extremely saddened that the very institutions of the state that are supposed to protect and advance the public interest have apparently abandoned the principle of democratic governance. Not only have human freedom and dignity have been degraded, lives have been unnecessarily lost. Principally, we do not condemn any corruption activities. We support the anti-corruption agency's effort in fighting graft, but right to life is above all. Fighting graft must not be at the expense of a life. We demand the government, as a matter of utmost urgency, undertakes the following measures. The establishment of a Royal Commission of Inquiry immediately to independently and thoroughly investigate the said incident. The terms of reference of the proposed Royal Commission inquiry must include investigation into the key role of the present command and power structure of MACC in this tragic incident. Half the members of the RCI must be nominated by civil society organization to ensure credibility. Secondly, the police must back up and carry out independent and professional investigation against MACC. They must clear their reputation and regain credibility in this incident. The police have failed to neither investigate nor take action on 59 complaints of abuse of power against MACC. Its inaction caused 2 deaths, Teo Beng Hock and now Ahmad Sarbani Mohamed. Thirdly, the MACC Investigation Director Dr. Mustafa Ali and all officers involved in the investigation of the case must be immediately suspended until the completion of the Royal Commission's work to ensure justice is served and there is no cover-up of evidence or any obstruction to the investigation process. And finally, immediately implement the recommendation by the Parliamentary Select Committee on the Penal Court and Criminal Procedure Court to enact the Coroner's Act in Malaysia and to establish a Coroner's Act to investigate all cases of sudden deaths in custody. In closing, we would like to express our deepest condolences for the family of Ahmad Sarbani Mohamed. We would like to encourage the family to approach us should they need further support and assistance in the pursuit of justice and upholding their rights. Now I'm passing the mic to my fellow friends here to give their comments and representing their organizations. So I pass you to Dr. Kua and then followed by Eric Paulson.
Okay, thank you, Nalini. I'm speaking on behalf of SWARAM, I'm the director of SWARAM, and there is an issue that is SWARAM has always brought up, which is the question of the Independent Police Complaints and Misconduct Committee. Okay, to many people, it looks like only a police complaints committee. Okay, but in the case of Britain, in the case of the UK, in 2004, they passed a Police Reform Act to bring into force a police, an independent, let me stress the word independent, an independent police complaints commission. And then, as you know, this was the recommendation by our own Royal Commission of Police, which was set up in 2003, I think, which was supposed to be recommended to be set up in 2004. Okay, and I'll tell you how such a commission works, because a few months ago I was in England, and I was watching, one day I was watching television, there was a siege. There was a man with a gun who was holding a siege, shooting at people in the street. All day, everybody was glued to the television. At the end of the day, this gunman was shot. The moment he was shot by the police, the Independent Police Complaints Commission stepped in. The very moment the siege ended, all the police involved in that case had to withdraw, and straight away the Independent Police Complaints Commission took over. What can we see here? There is an independent force. 2, there is a standard operating procedure by which the Independent Police Complaints Commission steps in the moment there is a death or the moment there is a complaint. It may not only be death, it can also be a complaint of corruption, etc. And the other thing to say is that people say, oh, the IPCMC that we're asking for does not cover enforcement officers. The British Police Reform Act and the Independent Police Complaints Commission in UK the remit covers all enforcement agencies, including the customs, because you know what happens with the customs. It covers the inland revenue. You know what, sometimes inland revenue can also muscle into your house or the office of a company and muscle the directors, etc. Okay? In this country, we have seen the second death in custody of an MACC. But we know that MACC is not the only enforcement agency that is accountable for these, that needs to account for these deaths in custody. We have also seen the armed forces in the case of Tamindran and another Indian guy. Okay? This is another enforcement agency which is not the police, the armed forces, which means that was the Air Force, Tamindran, the Navy and the Army also has it. We have the case that is of concern to journalists who are seated here today. The case of the Security Commission, when 2 journalists from the Star, I think, were called into the Securities Commission and subjected to very harassing interrogation at the Securities Commission. Okay, I can think of any more enforcement agencies. I think that in Malaysia we've seen so far MACC, immigration, okay, and armed forces, Securities Commission. I think there's another one that slipped my mind. But I want to stress that what is the urgent today after this death, and let me tell you this, we have seen 2 deaths from the MACC, but how many deaths have there been under the police custody? Over 1,000. And I remember editing a book called Policing the Malaysian Police in 2005, and at that time, every week, there was more than 1 person who died in police custody or in a police shooting. Every week. Okay? So let me remind you that the urgency of a new Police Reform Act to set up an Independent Police Complaints Commission. I think the word misconduct is unnecessary when you've got complaints there. Sometimes it's Malaysian English, So IPCMC is actually, you can just have IPCCC, independent, but I'd like to stress on independent, which means it's independent of the police, and it's independent of the enforcement agencies, and it's independent of the government. Okay? Today, at the present moment, Parliament is in sitting, and I hope that after the most recent death, there will be an urgent, public, immediate motion in Parliament, in which Parliament will set up, as soon as possible, I hope during this sitting, a Police Reform Act that will bring into force an Independent Police Complaints Commission, which has got, like I said, standard operating procedure to put into force. Every time there's a death, immediately this Independent Police Commission with their special forces step in and investigate straight away without having to wait for NGOs to call a press conference of this type. And every time it happens, we call for RCR, Royal Commission of Inquiry. But it should be a standard operating procedure that Malaysians can be proud of. Every time there's a complaint, it steps into operation and bring to book, okay, not just complaints of death in custody, complaints of police torture. Okay, I've recently spoken in a London conference on the need for the police, the IGP, to account for all the cases of torture under the ISA. Okay, today we have a representative from GMI. So these are all complaints against the police that must be investigated by the Independent Police Complaints Commission. Okay, so I hope that we put today's PC in perspective, and I hope that in this present Parliament, parliamentarians will, with great urgency, set about this independent police complaints commission that was called for by the Royal Commission of Police in 2003? Thank you.
Okay, Eric.